Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lip Kanatov, and I work as a Business Development Manager in Integros. I'm very pleased to welcome you to our today's webinar dedicated to the issues of collecting business data fast and without any additional development. Firstly, I would like to introduce my dear colleague Anastasia, who will be presenting shortly. Please be sure that our webinar will take approximately 45 minutes, and you are welcome to ask your questions during the webinar by using the relevant box on the right side. A few words about our company. Integros is one of the leading sugar CRM partners in Eastern Europe, and we have been working for more than 15 years, and we have successfully accomplished more than 100 different projects for 70+ companies around the globe. We develop and proceed various instruments and solutions in case to boost sugar system efficiency, and we deliver complex CRM integration projects. So today we'll show you the way how make your sugar sensitive to your business needs and seamlessly collect data for BI and AI issues. Now I'll give a word to my teammate Anastasia. So please, Anastasia, take the floor.
Thank you, Gleb. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to show you how to quickly perform complex data collection in this analysis. We will do this on quite simple but vital example of analyzing the sales pipeline. To bring all these tasks into life, it is necessary to have the relevant accumulated data. That means that we need to identify a set of business events and their structure, establish a process of business events collecting, and set up reports and dashlets. Today, we do not consider tuning, dashlets, and reporting, but we walk through all technical aspects and business events identified. So, how to determine events? First of all, you need to understand business need. Then you should evaluate what events in system cover those business needs, considering what data changed and in which module. After that, decide where user can access that information. And finally, decide what additional information will be stored about the event. Less words, more action. Let's build an event for revenue line item creation. Adding a new event consists of 3 steps: tuning event parameters, creating a fancy message in Sugar, and building the logic of events generation. So let's start from Sugar. Let me open it. And first, we need to define some kind of event type. For this, we navigate to Module, Timeline Events, and create a new record. So let's create a new record. And here we need to define the name of our event. Try to give a unique and clear name, as users will be using this name for filtering and reporting. So we have RLI was created. Next, pick an obvious and clear image, also a nice looking image for this event. I have one in my computer, so I select it. And then define a module where this event should be displayed. Let it be accounts first. And also, I prefer to add name of the module into the name of the event. So let accounts, type here. And we have 2 more fields which determine how long this event should be stored in the system. By default, it is 1 year, so leave it as is and save our record. We want to display effect of revenue line item creation in accounts, opportunity, and revenue line item. So let's open the record that we've just created, and using standard Sugar function copy, let's create 1 more event for opportunity and also change it in name. And the same steps to create the event for revenue line item. So here we choose the module and also add the name to the event name and save the record. Now we need to create a message of the event. For this, we navigate to module LB templates. And also we create a new record. So we choose create. And here we need to define, of course, a name of our template. Nothing new here, RLI was created. And in template section, we are going to type our message. I want to show in message an amount of new revenue line item. For sure, I can get this amount only from revenue line item record. So it's time to put a variable for it. In context section, I type an amount, it's the name of our variable, and put it in template section. Also, I remember that revenue line item may be not in the system default currency. So I need one more variable for the currency. In the same way, I add new variable and give it a name currency and put it before amount. Also, I want to type a plus symbol to show the increase. Next, I want to show for which opportunity and which account this revenue line item added. So I put like add, and what I need, it is opportunity name and account name. So I define a name and put it in template like opportunity name and account name. And finally, I want to show who added this opportunity. So I type by, and my last variable is user, and put it here. You have options here for text formatting, like adding color or adding pictures, but for now let's just highlight user and save our record. So it's time to build the logic for the event. I do not know any programming language, but it is not an obstacle on the way of doing my work. I'm using a special tool, Logic Builder, which allows building algorithm using blocks and connections between them. Based on those visual descriptions, Logic Builder builds upgrade safe Sugar package, which I can install and deploy into Sugar. So let's navigate to the Logic Builder, type address, and when it opens, let's put our login data, like my email and password. If you do not have login data, you can register on the sign up form and sign in. First that we need to do is to connect Logic Builder to our Sugar CRM. So in flowchart section, we open import Sugar metadata and press the import. Here I've already entered an URL to my Sugar instance and user's login and password from Sugar. So when loading image disappeared, we are ready to start. As I mentioned, Logic Builder uses blocks, which actually are called operators, and they are located in the toolbox section. So first, we need to specify a trigger for our logic. When we need to respond to changes in records, we use operator on data change. Record creation is also a data change, so on data change operator suits us well. Let's find this operator and put our very first element into canvas. Next, we need to define parameters for this operator. First of all, we need to define the changes in which module we should respond. Definitely it's revenue line items. And next, we need to define when our logic should be executed, before the record is saved or after that. It doesn't matter for our task now, so let's choose after save. Next, we need to specify a condition. Does our logic need to execute when any changes occur in revenue line item? Definitely not. So when we are talking about conditions, we use operator branch, put it on the canvas, and based on some conditions which are defined in condition data input port, branch could divide our flow. So let's recall our requirement. When a new revenue line item created, So we have a condition only for new records. Determine whether the record is new or not, we can by using special data output port is new, which contains true when the record is new and false if not. So simply connect is new to condition input port, and also do not forget to connect operators with control flow, which determines the order of operators execution. Seems we can proceed to create a timeline, but first let's recall that we created template where we want to output some data from related to our revenue line items record. Let's first collect those data. So, for example, let's receive opportunity. We can do this by using operator, for example, retrieve related entities. So we put it here. Also, we connect blocks with control flow. Then we define what entity we need, our subject entity, and then find a name of a relationship that we are looking for. It's opportunities. Next, we want to find a currency. For this, we will use operator retrieve entity, in which we define a module that we are looking for, its currency. And here in ID, we need to define a record that we are looking for. ID of currency I can get from revenue line item. So I put operator get entity attributes, and I specify an entity, our revenue line item, and I want to receive a currency ID and put it in ID input port, and also connect operators. In the same way, let's receive an account. We use retrieve entity operator. In this operator, we choose a module that we are looking for, its accounts, and we need to define an ID. Again, we will use get entity attributes, and let's get account from the opportunity. So we put opportunity here, and we are looking for account ID, and put it in ID input port, and connect our operators. So now we are ready to start creating timeline. When we want to create a record, we use operator create entity. And in this operator, we define a module that we are going to create, its timeline. And then for the new record, we need to define, to set values into attributes. So we use special operator. We define to what record we want to set values. And now, firstly, we need to define in which module this timeline will be shown. We can define it by using a pair of fields, target module and parent ID. In target module, we need to put the name of the module, which we can get from standard Sugar drop-down module list, accounts. And in parent ID, we need to specify an exact account that we are looking for. We already used our account, so let's return and link it to parent ID. Next, the record where changes actually occurs, it is not the same module where we are going to display the event. So let's define an object where changes actually occurs. We can do this in the same way, but define object ID and object module. In object module, again, we need to put the name of the module. I use the same drop-down, and here it is revenue line items. And object ID, it's an ID of our revenue line item. Let's return to the fields from revenue line item and get ID and link it to the object ID. Next, remember we created timeline events record where we tune some parameters. So now it's time to link those timeline event record with this timeline. So first of all, we need to receive this record from Sugar. And again, we will use retrieve operator, but for now, retrieve entities by attributes. And here I define a module. What I'm looking for is timeline events. And then define an attribute, for example, name. I'm going to find the record by name. And I will type name manually here. Let me return to the sugar and copy-paste the name from the records that we created. So I choose this revenue line item, was created, return to logic builder, and put it here. And put this logic into the control flow. And why do we do this? We want to retrieve an ID of this record. So I get an ID, and I need to put this ID into field event type. Simply link this. And finally, we need to set the message. We created template, and now it's time to process it. When we want to process template, we use operator get HTML text from template. And here I choose a template that we created. Here it is. And here you may see all our variables that we defined in sugar. So let's choose them all here. And now we need to bind these variables with fields from sugar, like amount. Amount we can get from revenue line item. So let's return to fields from revenue line item and select, for example, likely case, and link it with amount variable. Next, we want to show the currency. So let's get from currency entity that we already found. Here we found our currency. And from currency, let's output the symbol and link it to this currency variable. In the same way, we are going to get the name of account. Here is our account, and let's get the name from it. And in the same way for opportunity, here are our fields from opportunity. So choose name and bind it with opportunity name variable. And finally, we need to define a user. We can do this by using operator get current user. And from this user, we want to retrieve a full name, for example. So let's choose full name and put it in variable user. And the results of this template processing we need to put in the field rich text message. So we put values into fields, and now we want to save our record to the sugar. So we created a timeline about revenue line item creation for account, and we want to show this fact in opportunity and revenue line item. So let's perform the same steps 2 more times. First, for opportunity, again, I'm using create entity operator, where I define a record that I'm going to create. It's timeline. We already know that we need to retrieve a timeline event record from sugar. So we use retrieve entities by attributes. We define what we are looking for, its timeline events, and we are going to find this record via name. So again, we will set manually the name here. Let's return to sugar and copy paste the name and put it here. And we need to define all attributes, set entity attributes for our new timeline record. And again, where we want to show this record. For now, it's opportunity, and we can define it by using pair of fields, target module and parent ID. In target module, we need to put the name of the module. For this, I'm using standard drop-down module list, opportunities. And parent ID is an ID of our opportunity. Let's return a little bit to our opportunity fields. Here it is. So let's choose ID here and put it in parent ID. Next, as actually changed revenue line item, not an opportunity, we want to display this revenue line item in event. So for this, we need to add pair of fields object module and object ID. Object module is a revenue line item, it's the name of the module. Let's again define it. And in object ID, we need to put the ID of our revenue line item, as we done before. So I put get ID of revenue line item and put it in object ID. And we need to define, to link this timeline with parameters from record in Sugar. So I need to set value in event type ID field, and this ID we get from the record that we already found here. I'm sure that by this name I can find only one timeline event record. So I pick ID and put it here. And of course we need to define a message. We already processed our template, so let's just use those results. And of course we want to save this record to the Sugar. And finally, we want to create timeline for revenue line item itself. In the same way, we are going to use create entity operator, where we define a module that we are going to create its timeline. We need to find a timeline event with parameters. So we are looking for timeline events via name, and we define a name here. Again, let me copy paste it from Sugar, not to type it manually. And we need to set values into fields for our new timeline. So we define that we want for this timeline set and attributes. Again, where we are going to show this, it's target module and parent ID. Our target module for now, this is revenue line item. We used it before, so here our revenue line item, and link it with target module. And in parent ID, let's return to the beginning where we get all fields from revenue line item. Yep, here it is. And pick this ID and define it into parent ID. And here we have, we are going to display the timeline in the same module where the change actually occurs. So we're not going to define object here. Let's proceed to define event type. We already received our record, so from this record we retrieve ID. And the last one, it is message, which we need to define in rich text message field. We use the same message. Let's return here and put into rich text message. And the final step is save our entity. So now we create the logic for event generation, and we need to deploy it into Sugar. And firstly, I save this logic, which called flowchart, for further modification. I give it a name like TLV array line was created, save the record, and generate a Sugar package. Now I return to Sugar, and I'm going to download this package as any other Sugar package we've downloaded. So I pick the package, press upload, and install. And now while the package is installing, let me say that all packages that are produced by Logic Builder are upgrade safe and can be deployed both on Sugar on site and Sugar on demand. So our package downloaded. To end our deployment process, let's return to administration section and perform quick repair and rebuild. Repair, quick repair and rebuild. So, as you may see, the process of creating, for catching revenue line item creation took me about 15 or less minutes. It's including time that I am talking. So, all changes deployed in Sugar, and now let's see the results. For this, we navigate to Opportunities module, and let's pick some random opportunity. For example, let's choose this opportunity, and let's create a new revenue line item for it. We need to define required fields for sure. Let's add some name, AD import, something like this. Let's choose expected close date and likely amount, and save our record. And now we will see this fact that we created revenue line item in accounts, in opportunity, and in revenue line item. So let's start from an account. And here, as you may see, I'm already in timeline view. Here is the fact that we created revenue line item. It's an amount of entered record. It's opportunity name, account name, who created, and also here's our object, our revenue line item. Let's navigate to it. And here we do not see, surprise, surprise. Let's see if we have an opportunity. So in opportunity, we see our event for revenue line item creation. So that is all what about creating a new event for revenue line item creation. But for sure, it is not the end of our task on complex collecting data for sales progress analysis. I do not show you each event in such details, but I'm going to show you an example of the flowchart for the event revenue line item change its sales stage. So for this, I return to Logic Builder, and in Load Flowchart section, let me just download loaded it. Here it is, revenue line item status change, and let's load it. In general, this flowchart is pretty much the same. It's already loaded. Let me scroll to the beginning and to show you in detail. So, as you may see, here is the same start element, but here I'm checking that previous value of sales stage is not equal to current one, and the record is not new. And then I simply evaluate each value in the sales stage, whether it closed won or closed lost, and for these values I create a record in timeline in the same way as we've done before just. And also I evaluate whether the revenue line item moved forward or backward. The main difference of this flowchart that here I create some kind of metadata which is called context, and in this context I can store any kind of information that I need to or want to. For example, here I store some data from revenue line item, from opportunity, and also on the fly I'm calculating the amount of time that revenue line item spent on the previous stage. So in the same way, all other events are tuned using Sugar and Logic Builder. When all events are ready, we may proceed to dashboards and reports creation. I won't show this process from scratch, as I use standard Sugar reporting and add plus intelligent reports done by Adoptify. But let me show what we have in result. For this, let's navigate to the home page, and here we have the sales funnel and also all events that are related to and affecting on this sales funnel. Also, I have all positive events from this sales funnel and negative events. And finally, there is a structure of team progress. And when it comes to portfolio analyzing, for example, accounts, I choose some portfolio, and in a second, on the right hand, I see the sales progress regarding this portfolio, and also all details, events that occurred for this portfolio. And finally, thanks to reports, I can get the whole structure of, for example, won or lost opportunities or revenue line items. And to get the whole picture, I can find out overlooked opportunities for example, for 2 weeks. So I may say that all process of tune of gathering data about sales took me about 4 hours and about 2 hours to tune reports and dashboards in Sugar. As you may see, I do not need to know programming language to solve tasks for possibility to analyze sales lifecycle. All what I need is to understand business need, to know how to build algorithm with Logic Builder, and have Sugar admin skills, know the Sugar data model, and know how to tune reports, dashboards, dashlets. What in result? Almost unlimited possibilities to work with Sugar data without programming, which leads to reduced costs as well as improve user experience. If you want to build your own solution, in order to collect data and then transfer it to external systems, for example, to ClickView or Cognos, you will need Timeline Viewer for collecting events and Logic Builder to build the logic of this collection. And if you want to get ready to use solution, you will need Opportunity Analysis Event Pack and Add Plus Intelligent Reports for possibility to build dynamic reports. All this you may get from your Sugar partner, or if you do not have one, contact us via email you can currently see on the screen. Thank you for your attention. Now your questions.
Thank you, Anastasia, for the interesting presentation. Also, I would like to apologize for this terrible background sound that you could hear. Some guys tried to use fireworks outside, so it was just terrible. And Anastasia, we received a set of questions, and I would be happy to hear your comments.
Just a second. So, the first question is, what tasks can Logic Builder solve? Actually, quite a lot. You can, for example, automate copy-paste tasks and calculate values using objects or values from objects related or not related to initial module. You can generate new objects as we've considered today. You can generate complex email messages and integrate with external web services. And also, flowchart can be a separate block for advanced workflow, so they can both work together. Actually, you may find additional information about Logic Builder features on our website or on Sugar Exchange. The next question, could you explain a difference between Logic Builder and Advanced Workflow? Thank you for question, quite interesting, and actually I need to say that we receive this question quite often. So let me explain. Advanced Workflow describes complex, multi-step process with users involved in, and it supposes pending time when executing. While Logic Builder describes the algorithm of data processing which can't be disrupted or doesn't interact with users. And also, I mentioned that Logic Builder and Advanced Workflow can work together when one step or several steps from Advanced Workflow may be a flow chart from Logic Builder. Why should new event be generated for each module? Is it possible to describe it once and then just specify whether it will be displayed? Well, actually, if I understand you right, you're asking why we created timeline 3 times, not once. Let me explain that timeline have 2 goals. First of all, it's the tool to display events into system for possibility for users investigate those events. And second, it is an aggregator to store data which can be further transferred to BI or AI systems. And these systems should have some access maybe data, so the more detailed information is collected, it's better. That's why we create in such details each event, even it can be some kind of routine work. Next question is why are packs for event generation uploaded one by one? Is it possible to make one package or for several events? Well, actually, yes, it is possible to combine several flowcharts into several packages into one. But why I done this? Because I'm thinking about further modification of this logic. So maybe installing one package is obviously more convenient, but when it comes to remove or modify some from events, you need to uninstall the whole package. So when you have several packages, one package for one event, it's more convenient to control the whole process. And our last question is, does Logic Builder work only with out-of-the-box modules and fields or with custom ones? Well, actually, Logic Builder works with both standard and custom models. Actually, today we consider it a timeline, which is a custom module.
Thank you, Anastasia, for your answers. They were interesting. And sorry, we are just running out of time. So the questions that weren't answered during this presentation, they will be processed later on and will be sent out in the follow-up emails to their askers. And also after the webinar, you will be able to leave your feedback in the relevant box, and of course, it would be highly appreciated. So thank you for being with us today. You can always rely on our help, and have a good day and goodbye.